BTS News Today. The Los Angeles night sky stretched out like a vast canvas hiding secrets. Amid the sparkling city lights and the shy stars peeking through thin clouds, two of the most iconic names in Korean music stood side by side on a simple, yet deeply meaningful stage: Kim Taehyung and Taehyung Jungkook. But that night wasn't about music. It wasn't just another live stream. It became the most honest, human, and stirring moment of their entire career. The live broadcast began without an opening song. The camera revealed a hotel room bathed in warm light, with large windows open and white curtains swaying gently in the breeze. Taehyung sat on the floor, his back against the sofa, while Jungkook prepared something on a small table behind him. No crew, no script, just the two of them and a camera capturing everything. "Annyeong," Jungkook greeted softly after sitting beside Taehyung. His gaze looked tired but warm, a faint smile on his face holding back something deeper than tour exhaustion. Taehyung turned to him and rested his head on Jungkook's shoulder. "Tonight we won't sing. No challenges, no fan questions. Tonight, we just want to talk," he whispered. For several seconds, only the sound of the wind and the heartbeat of the city outside could be heard. Comments flooded in from viewers around the world in dozens of languages, but neither of them rushed to read. They just sat there. Silence, heavy and full. Then, Jungkook broke the stillness, his voice soft, as if reading a letter he had kept hidden for years. "I once thought about quitting," he said. "In our 4th year after debut, I started to feel like I was losing myself." Taehyung looked down, his fingers playing with the string of Jungkook's hoodie. "I knew. I saw it. But I didn't know what to do either. We were all so busy, and I was fighting a strange kind of loneliness, too." Jungkook's eyes reddened, not from an explosion of tears, but from something that had been held back for far too long. "There was one night. I got drunk alone on the rooftop of our old dorm. I cried the whole night listening to Spring Day. Not because the song was sad, but because I felt like everything had gone too far. I didn't know who I was anymore." Taehyung looked at him without saying a word, just a gentle nod. Then he took a deep breath. "Jungkook, he said gently. "I once wrote a letter to leave, but I never sent it. I just kept it under my pillow. Because I was scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared of losing you." The words slipped out naturally. And at that very moment, the atmosphere of the live stream changed completely. Hundreds of thousands of viewers went silent. Their hearts were pulled into that small room, witnessing two men who had waited too long to be honest. Not with the public, but with themselves. Jungkook finally cried. Not loudly, not hysterically. Silent tears streamed down his cheeks as he covered his face with his hands. Taehyung reached out, held his hand tightly. "I won't lie anymore," Taehyung said. "I won't pretend to be strong. I won't fake being okay. Because that night, when you were throwing up in the bathroom from holding everything in, I realized this wasn't just a dream that got too exhausting. It had become a war. A war with ourselves," Jungkook added, voice hoarse. "A war with expectations, with fears, with a past that never fully healed." Taehyung nodded. "And we can't keep hiding behind 'I'm okay.' Because we're not always okay." That live turned into the most shocking confession in BTS's career, not because they announced disbandment or some major decision, but because, for the first time, they allowed themselves to be seen completely, scarred, broken, scared, and all the things that had been hidden behind stages and spotlights. Jungkook spoke about the fear of standing alone in the spotlight, about the nights he silently cried in the practice room, feeling he wasn't good enough, about the times he began to hate himself, thinking he was just a product, not a person. Taehyung opened up about the pressure of being the visual, how his smile became a mask, how every pose and move had to be perfect. He also shared how his father once told him to quit if life ever became too painful. "But I couldn't," he said, because Jungkook was still there, and I couldn't let him fight alone. After 2 hours passed, and more tears were shed than words spoken, the mood began to shift. Jungkook gave a faint smile, though his eyes were still red. "You know," he said, looking at Taehyung, "if you hadn't sent that message that night, maybe I wouldn't be here today." "I remember that message," Taehyung replied. "Don't die, Jungkook. The world's not done with us yet." They laughed softly, not because it was funny, but because, for the first time in a long time, they felt free. That live ended not with a goodbye, but with a promise. A promise that they would no longer hide their pain, no longer lie about how they were really doing. that they would protect each other, not because they're in the same group, but because they share the same soul. That night, the world saw two of Korea's biggest music stars as fully human. And among all the confessions, one thing stood out most. That Taehyung and Jungkook, more than just idols, had become symbols of the courage to admit it's okay to be fragile, okay to be honest, and okay to cry in front of the world, as long as you're not alone. And in the silence after the live ended, fans from all over the world wrote the same line. We love you not because you're perfect, but because you're real. This news wasn't just about a live stream. It was about two hearts finally speaking after years of silence. And the world listened. After the live ended, the world fell momentarily silent. Twitter, Instagram, and Weverse exploded with millions of comments, reposts, and virtual tears. Many were not even BTS fans, just people who had long felt alone in their own life battles. And that night, they saw themselves reflected in Jungkook and Taehyung's tears. But for the two of them, the night was far from over. The camera may have turned off, but their conversation had only just begun. After closing the laptop, Taehyung didn't get up right away. He just sat there, staring blankly out the window at the sleepless city. Jungkook wiped his still damp face, then grabbed a bottle of water and handed it to Taehyung. Are you sure we're ready for all this? Jungkook asked quietly. We laid everything bare. Taehyung gave a small smile. I don't know, but I know one thing. Tonight, I'll sleep without carrying anything on my chest. Nothing held back. Jungkook nodded. Me too. It feels like finally coming home. A few hours later, HYB staff received a message directly from both of them. The contents were simple yet profound. We need time, but not to leave, to return the right way. The next morning, the world was shaken again, not by drama or rumors, but by honesty. Media outlets across the globe highlighted the live not as content, but as a rare moment of humanity from global artists. Psychologists, mental health advocates, even idols from other groups began to speak up, opening up about their own wounds. In an instant, Taehyung and Jungkook's confession sparked a movement that in Korea, the #1 trending word wasn't a song or a variety show, but a single word that captured the night: courage. Taehyung and Jungkook chose not to appear in public for several days. They weren't hiding. They just wanted silence. They needed to heal, but their silence didn't mean the world stopped thinking of them. Outside the HYB building, armies wrote thousands of letters. Some came from young people who were on the verge of giving up, but changed their minds because of that night. Some were from parents watching with their children, and some from adults who said, that night, I felt understood for the first time in 30 years. 3 days later, a viral photo spread. Jungkook and Taehyung sitting by the beach in Malibu. No makeup, no masks, just the two of them in the ocean listening. They shared a single pair of headphones, sitting close like two friends who had survived a war. Between them, a notebook, scrawled with lyrics.